TikTok knows when you're sad. Netflix knows what you want to watch. Spotify can predict your mood before you do. ChatGPT writes your love letters, and politicians flood the news with so much noise that truth stops mattering. But none of that surprises us anymore, because we've adapted, or maybe we've given up. But in 2001, one game saw this coming. It didn't predict the future with flying cars, it predicted something worse. A future where information is weaponized, where you can program identity, and where AI becomes your therapist and your mirror. And that game was Metal Gear Solid 2. You've probably heard this before, that Kojima was right, that Metal Gear Solid 2 predicted the world we're in, but I'm not here just to prove that. I'm here because this game made me. It shaped how I see stories, people, power, and myself. And when I went to Tokyo this year to find the place where it was created, I realized this wasn't just a game, it was a message. Welcome to Metal Gear Solid 2 in 2025. Before we get into the chaos, predictions, and conspiracies, we need to start with the basics, because not everyone grew up with Metal Gear, and if you didn't, it probably looks like some old military stealth game with a lot of talking, but it's more than that. Metal Gear is a long-running video game series that started in the late 80s, but it really became a cultural force in 1998, when Metal Gear Solid came out on the original PlayStation. It was unlike anything else. Cinematic cutscenes, stealth-based gameplay, weird philosophical monologues, fourth wall breaking moments. It felt like a movie and a game and a dream all happening at once. And at the center of it was Solid Snake, a kind of anti-hero James Bond with a gravelly voice, a bandana, and a habit of questioning everything. You didn't just play as him, you looked up to him. And the man behind all of it, the writer, director, and brain, was Hideo Kojima. Kojima's the kind of creator who treats video games like cinema. His work has always been more than gameplay. It's full of ideas, philosophy, paranoia, humor, and melancholy. He made games that didn't just entertain, they made you think. Metal Gear wasn't just about sneaking past guards, it was about power, war, media, AI, legacy, and identity. And even when I didn't fully understand what Kojima was trying to say, I knew it meant something. And honestly, that's what drew me in. I was born in 1999, so I never actually played the original Metal Gear Solid when it came out, but one of my earliest gaming memories, maybe even my earliest memory full stop, is sitting next to my older brother Dave while he played Metal Gear Solid 2. I must have been 5 or 6. I was way too young to understand what was going on, but I was obsessed. The way the characters moved and talked, the music, the scenery, everything. I was completely locked in. It wasn't just a game, it was an atmosphere, a feeling. And even though I didn't have the controller in my hand, Metal Gear was imprinted on me. And as soon as I could, I started playing myself, probably around 6 or 7 years old. I played this game so many times growing up, but it's only now with a more philosophical eye that I actually start to understand a lot of the hidden meanings in the game. Metal Gear Solid is a big inspiration in my life, like I said, because when I was around 10 years old, I used to shoot these little army YouTube film videos with my friends, running around outside with toy guns and editing them to music on Windows Movie Maker, trying to make them feel like a Metal Gear Solid cutscene, really inspired by Freddie Wong's channel if you remember early internet. Looking back, that was the beginning, where the storytelling instinct started, and I think Metal Gear Solid 2 had a lot to do with that. And in a way that never really stopped, because I've made videos ever since that age. I went to film school, studied directing and editing, and then I started working on real movies and TV shows. Even now I still do freelance work in film and video, and it's funny looking back because it all kind of started with a toy gun, a cheap camera, and the way MGS2 made me feel when I was 6 years old. The story of the game is pretty simple on the surface. There's a new version of Metal Gear, a nuclear-equipped weapon, and someone has to stop it. The game opens with Snake infiltrating a military tanker in the Hudson River. You sneak through, take photos of the prototype, and uncover a conspiracy. Snake is back, straight from Metal Gear Solid 1. But then the ship sinks, Snake disappears, and the game fades to black and restarts. Suddenly, you're on a new mission, in a new place, playing as someone else. 2 years later, you're Raiden, a young, pale, quiet soldier, a complete unknown, and the game doesn't explain much. It just drops you in and tells you to keep going. I didn't realize how much of a shock it was to the rest of the world, because for months, the marketing had promised something else. Every trailer, every demo, every magazine preview, all of them featured the entire game playing as Snake. He was supposed to be the hero, the returning legend. They even edited fake gameplay footage showing Snake in areas that belonged to Raiden. They recorded voice lines just for the trailers, and to take it even further, Game Now published a fake April Fool's news article about Metal Gear Solid X, a fictional re-release where you'd play the whole game as Snake. Fans believed it, all of it. So when the game came out and you found yourself playing as Raiden, people were furious. Forums exploded. Some felt betrayed, others were just confused. Who was this guy, and why had Snake been pushed to the side? But Kojima did it all on purpose. He wanted the player to feel what Raiden felt. Lost, out of place, unsure. He wanted to remove the comfort of a familiar hero. He wanted to hand you the story after the shift, not as the icon leading the charge, but as the rookie watching from the sidelines. Snake is still in the game, but now he's a presence, a legend. You follow his orders, you hear him on the nano communications, and you see him moving through the chaos like a ghost, and you admire him, you look up to him, and you want to understand him. Because as the player, you used to be him. That feeling of unease is the entire point. Because Metal Gear Solid 2 is the idea that the story you think you're living in might not be yours at all. And it's so eerily relevant now in 2025. Back then, it was just a bold creative choice, but now it feels like a warning. We live in a world where everything is curated, where headlines lie, where AI writes articles, makes faces, tells stories, where you never quite know what's real or who's behind the curtain. And Kojima wasn't just telling a story about manipulation, he was creating it. He built a game that lied to you, just to show you how easy it is to be lied to. And 20 years later, we're still playing.
You have 2 mission objectives. 1, infiltrate the offshore decontamination facility Big Shell and safeguard the president and other hostages. And 2, disarm the terrorists by any means necessary.
For most of the game, Raiden is guided by 2 voices in his ear. Colonel Campbell, the hard-nosed commander, and Rose, his girlfriend, who's handling his mission support. And from the start, something feels a little off. Raiden has no idea why she's there. Why would his girlfriend be on a top-secret mission?
Jack, is everything all right?
What are you doing here?
Jack, can you hear me?
Rose, you're not supposed to be involved. What's going on?
Jack, I'm a part of this mission.
Colonel, what the hell is going on?
Raiden, meet the mission analyst.
The Colonel is oddly formal, and Rose is emotional in ways that don't quite match the situation. One moment she's guiding you through a mission objective, and the next she's asking you, do you remember what day it is, or talking about past dates or time spent together.
Jack, do you remember what day tomorrow is?
That again. I'm sorry, but I still don't have a clue.
That's okay.
What is it, Rose? Talk to me.
As if you weren't in the middle of a mission, like you were just going through relationship drama. This game is cutscene and dialogue heavy, so you do get used to some of it feeling off and weird, but maybe it was just clunky voice acting or awkward dialogue from a Japanese to English translation. But the longer you play, the stranger it gets. As the game continues, their tone starts to shift. Their timing feels off. Rose becomes distant, glitchy, and Colonel Campbell starts saying things that don't make sense. He starts repeating himself.
Continue your mission.
I've lost all my gear. I need to locate Snake.
He was never factored into the simulation. Leave him out of this. This is a type of role-playing game.
They start talking about simulations. You ask for mission details and he tells you to turn the game console off. And suddenly, the people you've been trusting for hours aren't people at all.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry, it's a game. It's a game just like usual.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
They're artificial intelligence, they're fake. Simulations created by a system called the Patriots, a secret group that isn't made up of politicians, but code, invisible algorithm designed to guide the world from behind the scenes.
What does this mean? I think it means you've been talking to an AI.
What you thought were real conversations were carefully managed inputs. You were never in control. And Rose, the love interest, the emotional anchor, the one reminding Raiden who he is, turns out to be part of that simulation too. I mean, Jack and Rose, just like Titanic. It feels like a Hollywood movie, and it kind of is.
今回は冒頭タンカーなんで、タンカーといえば当時はタイタニックが流行った後だったんで、ジャックとローズ。
Does Rose exist? Don't be weird. She's your... What if I've never really met her?
And it hits hard because you realize the game wasn't playing with the story, it was playing with you. You weren't just being lied to as a character, you were being lied to as a player. The mission, the guidance, the emotional beats, all of it was curated. They even tell you to put the controller down, to play further away from the screen because you'll hurt your eyes, to turn the game console off. They're talking to you, the player. They were talking to me, 6-year-old Jake. And when Rose says it's not about controlling the content, it's about controlling the context, you finally understand what the game has been doing all along. It's not about what's true, it's about what feels true. It's about who's telling the story, and whether you even realize you were being told one in the first place. By this point in the game, when the Colonel and Rose have fully glitched out and you understand that they are AI constructs, it's easy to write it off as just another Kojima twist. But when you listen to what they're actually saying, it starts to feel less like sci-fi and more like right now. They talk about controlling information, about filtering culture, about deciding what memes, not the funny internet kind, but cultural ideas, get passed on. And most of all, they talk about noise, how humanity is drowning in it, how the goal isn't to lie, but to overload, to bury the signal under so much content that truth becomes irrelevant. That's basically the dead internet theory. The idea that most of what we see online today isn't real, that the internet is now overcrowded with fake people, bots, algorithms, AI-generated content that looks human, sounds human, but isn't human. That the internet we scroll through every day is no longer a place of connection, but a simulation of one. It's been proven that 99.9% of things you see online today are AI-generated. And Metal Gear 2 saw it coming 20 years ago.
Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
You want to control human thought? Human behavior?
Of course. Anything can be quantified nowadays. That's what this exercise was designed to prove.
You fell in love with me just as you were meant to, after all. Isn't that right, Jack?
You fell in love with me just as you were meant to. It's not really about Rose or Raiden. It's about you. It's about what happens when a system gets so good at understanding your habits, your patterns, your preferences, that it doesn't just suggest things, it starts deciding for you. And the wild part is that that's actually true now. We live inside recommendation engines every day. TikTok's algorithm knows exactly what kind of content will hold your attention for 3 extra seconds, which is why most users spend an average of 58 minutes a day on the app. That's not a coincidence, that's precision. Spotify doesn't just play your favorite songs, it predicts your emotional state. It knows when you need breakup music before you even realize you're sad. Netflix changes through hundreds of thumbnails based on what you're most likely to click on. You and your best friend could be served the exact same show with totally different images at the same time, just to increase the odds of you saying yes. And then there's ChatGPT that I've seen used for everything, to craft apologies, to write CVs, to write breakup messages, to respond to long messages you can't even be bothered to reply to, so you copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask him to reply with a happy mood. People use it to draft love letters, to answer questions they'd be embarrassed to ask anyone else. Some people call it their therapist. Because it's safe, it's efficient, it will give you something that sounds like you, maybe better than you could have ever written it yourself. And that's where it gets strange, because when the voice that tells you who you are starts sounding just like you stop questioning it, you trust it, and maybe you could fall in love with it. And that's what MGS2 was really warning us about. Not evil machines, not the apocalypse, but the slow erosion of discomfort, the way a system can feel so smooth, so helpful, so correct, that you forget you even had free will to begin with. And when the AI says, "We are your guardians, we think for you," it doesn't sound like a villain speech. It literally just sounds like the thing we all have in our pockets. It sounds like the world we already live in, and it's not domination, it's optimization. Because the more optimized we become, the more predictable, efficient, and emotionally safe, the less space there is for contradiction, for awkwardness, for original thought, or humanity. The internet used to be chaos, messy forums, strange late-night rabbit holes, weird corners of yourself reflected back through someone else's screen name. Now it's something else. It's quiet, polished, streamlined, predictable. A version of you that always says the right thing because it's been written by an AI, a playlist that knows how you feel before you do, a feed that thinks for you. And slowly, without realizing it, we stop asking questions. We stop creating anything that doesn't already sound like what the algorithm wants. That's what Kojima was trying to say, that maybe the greatest threat to our freedom isn't some dystopian regime, it's actually convenience and comfort, giving up the burden of choosing in exchange for a system that says, we'll take it from here. So no, it's not just a game about nanomachines and plot twists, it was a warning. Because if you're not careful, the next time you ask yourself, what do I want? You might not be the one answering. As we move towards the end of the game, Raiden defeats Solidus in a sword fight on top of Federal Hall in New York. It should feel like a climax, but it really doesn't. It's quiet, reflective, because by this point, the real battle wasn't physical, it was ideological. Raiden doesn't walk away with a mission accomplished screen, he walks away questioning everything. The AI that controlled him is gone, the Colonel's voice fades, and suddenly, Raiden has no orders, no identity, and no clear steps. For the first time, he's not being told who he is. Rose appears, she says she's real, she says she's pregnant, and maybe she is, but even that moment feels strange, ambiguous, not like a Hollywood ending, but something smaller, quieter, and more uncertain. And then Snake appears, the real Snake. He tells Raiden that it's not about the past anymore, it's about the choices you make now, that even if your memories were fake, even if your mission was manipulated, you can still decide what kind of person you want to be going forward. And that's how the game ends, not with a bang, but with a question. In a world full of artificial meaning, where everything can be rewritten, how do you find something real? And more importantly, how do you hold on to it? I know I've barely touched the actual plot of MGS2. I haven't broken down the Patriots, Dead Cell, Arsenal Gear, Solidus, or even what the Big Shell is. I didn't walk you through the betrayals or explain who's working for who, and that's kind of on purpose, because that's not really what this video is about. I think the mechanics of the plot, while interesting, are kind of a smokescreen for something much bigger, and truthfully, there are already so many brilliant video essays and breakdowns out there that unpack every twist, every cutscene, every codec call, and if you want the full timeline or lore deep dive, those videos exist, videos that are 10 hours long, and if you want to, you should definitely check them out. But here I wanted to do something different. I wanted to talk about how this game feels, and what it's really saying beneath all the stealth missions and boss fights, because I think that's what sticks with you, that's what sticks with me, and that's what makes it timeless in my opinion. When I was in Japan, I made it a mission to find the actual building where MGS2 was developed, the Konami offices in Ibizu. From the outside, it looks like any other office tower in Tokyo, nothing dramatic, but once you step inside, something shifts. The interior is weirdly grand. There's these polished marble floors, high ceilings, wide elevators, and it feels like a simulation of New York. Not the real New York, but the idea of it. Almost like Grand Central Station reimagined through a Japanese lens. And standing there, it hit me. The final act of MGS2 takes place in a surreal version of Manhattan. And maybe the building Kojima and his team worked in every day, with its odd Western-influenced architecture, helped shape that world. It makes sense. You design what surrounds you. You fictionalize what you see. And maybe, without even knowing it, they brought the game's ending to life before they even animated it. Walking around that lobby felt uncanny, like I was inside a space that had leaked out of the game and into real life. Or maybe it was the other way around. Of course, Kojima doesn't work at Konami anymore. He left after Metal Gear 5, and the split was messy, but his presence hasn't faded. If anything, it's only grown. A few days after visiting the old Konami offices in Tokyo, I was in Osaka and came across a Death Stranding exhibition, a full-on pop-up event with original artwork, props, and walls of lore. And there were huge queues, people lined up just to buy stickers, postcards, or posters, anything with Kojima's name on it. It honestly felt more like a film director's retrospective than a video game promo. And that's the impact he has, not just as a developer but as a storyteller, someone whose work goes beyond gameplay mechanics and into something deeper, something that sticks. People don't just play Kojima's games, they follow them, they feel them, they grew up with them. I know I did. The truth is, I don't know what comes next, but I do know this. Kojima wasn't making a game, he was handing us a mirror. The question is, are we still brave enough to look?
I woke up in Tokyo to the sound of crows cawing outside my window. They were hanging on the wires like they didn't have a care in the world. I sat there for a long time, watching them, wondering if they even cared about anything at all. It felt like they were a part of something real in a world that's starting to feel fake. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the dead internet theory. You know, the idea that most of what we see online isn't really made by people anymore. It's just a bunch of automated posts and fake interactions. It makes me wonder if everything is just generated by some kind of code, like generative audio that spits out sounds and words without any heart behind it. Sometimes I even think about my own voice. Right now, the words you hear might not be coming from a real human at all. They might just be AI generated, and that thought scares me a bit. It makes everything feel a little less genuine. I struggle with trying to give any real effort these days. I always seem to give up before anything even starts. It's like I'm stuck in a loop, trying and then falling back into low-effort, half-hearted moves. I watch these crows every morning, and they never seem to try too hard either. They just exist, doing what crows do. It's both inspiring and frustrating, because I want to hold on to something real, but I keep letting go too easily. Then there's her. I keep asking myself over and over, will she be home when I get home? Every time I step out of my hotel room in this busy digital city, I'm haunted by the thought that by the time I finally make it back, she might have already left. I walk through the streets and feel this heavy mix of hope and dread. It's like I'm holding on to the possibility that she's still waiting, while also letting go of that hope because it hurts too much. I remember times when things felt simpler, when I could muster a little effort to make things work. But now, every plan feels like a dead end, a weak signal in an ocean of noise. The city's lights, the constant hum of technology, even the endless chatter online. It's all so synthetic. And here I am, feeling more and more like one of those automated voices, just another glitch in the system. Sometimes I wonder if my own life is just a piece of generative audio, a story that's been programmed to fade away without leaving a mark. Tonight, I finally got home. I stepped through the door into a place that once felt warm and alive, but now it just feels empty and quiet. I walked from room to room, looking for signs that she was there, like the way the living room light used to flicker when she laughed, or how the kitchen table still held a trace of our last meal together. But tonight, everything was silent. I sat down in the living room, the weight of the emptiness pressing on me. I couldn't shake the thought that maybe she wouldn't be there, that maybe this emptiness was a sign that I've given up on holding on too many times before. I keep feeling like I'm low effort in everything, like I never have enough strength to really try, and now it's hitting me hard. The silence is loud, and I'm left wondering if letting go is easier than holding on. The crows outside, those real, unfiltered creatures, remind me that sometimes you just have to live in the moment, even if it feels like everything is fake or out of reach. I want to believe that despite all of this low effort, despite the AI voices and the dead internet theory and all the synthetic noise around me, there's still something genuine waiting for me at home. I hope that when I come back next time, she'll be there. A sign that holding on can still lead to something real, even if I feel like I'm giving up on trying.